It's a new system. It can be confusing. Allow citizens to recheck their ballot if they undervoted. All votes need to be counted, and voters need to be alerted if there's a problem with their ballot. Paula Brown, 206 Highland Avenue, Darby, PA. Her comment has to do with the polling location at the Penn Wood Middle School. It's come to my attention, a petition was filed yesterday to move our polling place in the Second Ward First Precinct to the Darby Recreation Center located in the Second Ward Second Precinct. We petitioned the court twice to move our polling place from that location for several reasons and would like it to remain at our new location at Penn Wood Middle School. Reasons to keep the 2-1 polling place at Penn Wood Middle School is handicapped accessible. There's plenty of room for parking. There's room for social distancing. The principal has offered use of the gymnasium as well if we would like a larger space. The polling place is located within the precinct where many seniors can access the building. Polling place is clean and disinfected by a professional maintenance team. We feel it's imperative we keep our location at Penn Wood and not confuse voters by changing locations. The reasons that she lists not to move back to the Darby Rec Center. Voters were often met with hostile and aggressive behavior from poll workers, candidates, and their families and friends. Voters were accosted at the driveway entrance, were not allowed to proceed into the parking lot unless they would listen to the hostile poll workers. Flyers were shoved in voters' faces at these entrances, and if they did not take the literature, it became more violent, while voters were yelled and screamed at with vulgarities. Many voters walked away because of the violence, where they would not come to the polls. The Second Ward First Precinct was always separate in our own precinct. Never had a problem. Several years ago, we had to combine with Second Ward Second Precinct as a fire destroyed our prior location. It's been a nightmare since, and we would like to remain separate. Many of these incidents were documented by police and were reported to the prior election board solicitor. And that is the essence of that comment.
Sorry, Bill, to interrupt. Chairman, I would normally, I think if there hadn't been an indication that those incidents had been reported to police, then I think if Manley were here, we would have asked him to report them potentially even to the DA's office. So, I don't know if someone needs to keep an eye on that or something, but I just note that those are some pretty troubling allegations or assertions.
Okay. Yes. And we'll discuss those when we get to the items about relocating the polling place.
Pam Magidson, Haverford Township, Angela Mascart, Darby, 1146 Wycombe Avenue. As the chair of the Darby Borough Republican Organization, I am requesting that the polling place for the Second Ward First Precinct be kept at the same location it was for the primary, Penn Wood Middle School. To move it again out of the precinct would not be conducive to the voters of that precinct. I'm also requesting that the Third Ward First Precinct polling place also remain at Walnut Street School, where it was in the primary election. Andy Riley, Middletown Township. Christine Katubi, is my understanding the petition to move my polling place from Penn Wood Middle School to the Darby Rec Center has been filed, and a notice has been posted outside the middle school stating we are now to go to the recreational center to vote. I'm requesting you do not move the polling place back to the recreation center. The center is located in the parking lot of the combined police department and Borough Hall. Very little parking is available to voters either in the lot or on the street. The last time I voted there, the center was dirty. I was sticking to the floor. The borough council people were in and out of the polling place, and someone was outside with a bullhorn. It is also my understanding that the claim is the middle school wanted to give us the art room to vote. Not true. Voting will take place in the school gym with correct social distancing. Gina Sage,
Thank you for all you do to make this election fair and to ensure that everyone's really Tim Struck. Checking the next one. This is another item regarding, I believe, the Darby Borough polling place change. That we were reading, correct? Because it's an item agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is from Lawrence Richards. I live in the 2nd Ward, 1st Precinct in Darby Borough. I am a retired sergeant from the Yeadon Police Department and a retired chief of police from the Cheney Police Department. Last primary, my polling place was thankfully moved to Penn Wood Middle School, where the environment was much nicer. I understand some people in the transient rooming house on Main Street petitioned to have the polling place moved back to the recreation center. This is not a good idea. I have extremely serious heart issues and I cannot take the stress caused by the harassment at the 2-2 precinct. I respectfully request to leave the polling place at Penn Wood Middle School. Thank you, Lawrence Richards of Highland Avenue, Darby.
Thank you.
All right. So that closes old business. New business. Jim, do you want to do the polling place location changes, Jim Savage?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Maybe we start with this one in Darby Borough that there seems to be so much public interest in, and we can get this one out of the way, and then we'll do the ones which appear to be less controversial.
That sounds like a good plan. So there was a petition submitted. I received it, I believe, yesterday. For the move Darby Borough 2-1, 2nd Ward, 1st Precinct, from Penn Wood Middle School at 121 Summer Street to the Darby Borough Rec Center, 1022 Ridge Avenue. The stated reason on the petition desire said polling place to be moved due to adequate spacing for social distancing. I personally inspected. I mean, it's a middle school, so I'll just say that I'm pretty sure that social distancing can be adequately maintained in a middle school.
Did you identify who filed the petition? I didn't, where that petition?
Excuse me?
Who filed the petition? You said the petition had a reason on it?
The petition was filed by Ms. Janice Davis.
Okay. Thank you.
I sent that in the packet. I know I sent the packet late, so I apologize for that.
Okay.
Anyway, I think some relevant facts for the board to consider, in addition to, I guess, I think I just saw another one had come in. I don't know if that wants to get read before you take a vote. But there were petitions, if you recall, filed prior to the primary and prior to the pandemic. So this was not part of the mass consolidation. It was a petition, actually 2 petitions that were filed to permanently move this location. The reason stated then was overcrowding and parking because the current site was home to 2 polling sites. And those petitions were presented to you, I think, in March. I should have looked that up. I apologize. But it was approved by this board unanimously at that time to move it to the Penn Wood Middle School. The principal at Penn Wood Middle School, Mr. Joe Dennelsbeck, when we went, had literally offered like 2 or 3 different spaces within the school, whatever worked better for the local election board. One of them being a large gymnasium type room, and one of them a large classroom, if I recall. So we received this petition to permanently move it. In the primary, it was voted unanimously to move it. And then we received this petition yesterday, basically to move it back to the same place we've moved it from. So there has been concerns raised about the reasoning behind that and whether that would contribute to voter confusion. I'll leave that up to you to consider, debate, and consider and vote on. If you have any questions other than that, and like I said, I do think more public comment may have come in. I saw at least one in my email.
Mr. Savage, did you say you thought that there could be social distancing at the school?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
I do have a question. So one's a school, it's from a public school, therefore, under law, if we were in a pandemic situation we are in a pandemic situation, but if we were in another consolidation, issues around staffing situation, which I certainly hope we're not, and I think we're taking every step to not be in that situation. But that would be my understanding. I just want to confirm is Penn Wood Middle School would be required under law to open itself up to as a polling location. And if that's, assuming that's true, my question is the same or not true for Darby Borough Recreation Center?
I believe, I don't know for certain, but the name of the agent on the petition that I sent to you says manager's assistant of Darby Rec Center. The petition also says the name of the agent of the proposed site and the title of the agent of the proposed site are respectively Darby Borough as the name and Darby Borough Council Et al. As the agent. So I'm assuming that Darby Borough Rec Center is also a public building.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know the parties of anybody behind these petitions, other public comment. I don't have any partisan position. I just want to understand, historically, we have a petition presented. I understand from Mr. Savage's presentation of it to us, it's properly presented. There's certainly the issue of we made the vote to move to one site. I was trying to get at whether or not that other site, it's a guess, but it sounds like it may be an educated guess from Mr. Savage that the other site may also be available if we were to sort of fall back on a law that, as we had to earlier, to make sure that sites were open for polling locations. I mean, is there any, history that you have on this type of?
Well, when there's a petition before us,
some dispute about.
Yeah, I mean, when there's a petition before us, we can consider it, and generally with the recommendation of Mr. Savage of what he thinks is an appropriate place, we typically follow that recommendation. I am not personally familiar with a recent history of issues at this polling place. I kind of remember many 10, 15, 20 years ago, some issue with the polling place that was at the time near the Darby police station, but I don't offhand recall a recent issue. Mr. Savage, what would be your recommendation to leave it at the school? It seems to me is what you're saying.
I didn't know that it was necessarily within my purview to make a recommendation one way or another. I plan to present it and present the relevant facts for you to consider. I will say that there is no concern about social distancing in a middle school. We did just move this permanently and appropriately in the spring. There were our office received some phone calls. I will say that our office received some phone calls after it was moved by members of the community that were upset that it was moved, and then our office's phone has rung off the hook here the past day or so after we posted the signs on the proposed change once we received the petition, which it's good to know that people are reading our signs. We kind of thought we might be wasting our time out there. And all of those calls were in opposition to moving it back. And that was at least a dozen calls.
Yeah. I mean, I personally don't see a compelling reason to move it. It seems fine where it is.
And I think that Penn Wood Middle School is actually within the precinct, and Darby Borough Rec may not be, but I'm not sure.
Did Ms. Hagan, did I hear Ms. Hagan? Sorry, I'm trying to get to your picture. Did you also have some feedback on that?
I know earlier, Mr. Martin had asked if I could monitor anything coming in that's new since he read them. And I do see an additional comment regarding this matter, if the board would like me to read that.
Sure.
Okay. So this is from Colleen Guiney, the chair of the Delaware County Democratic Committee. She writes, I am writing to convey a message from Luella Richardson, Darby Township 2-1 resident regarding the petition to relocate Darby Township 2-1 from Penn Wood Middle School to Darby Rec Center. Ms. Richardson has told me that the petition to move this polling place was submitted by someone not a resident in 2-1. She is concerned that another move to this precinct will confuse the voters. There is adequate space in the middle school for social distancing. Please keep this location at the middle school if you are able to do so.
Yeah. Well, right now we don't have a motion.
I think I can add to that Ms. Luella Richardson was the petitioner in the spring.
Okay, thank you. So right now there's no motion. This one may fail for lack of a motion unless somebody's going to make a motion.
I'll make a motion, Jerry. I'll make a motion that we keep it at the school.
Well, we don't need a motion to keep it. Only a motion if we're going to change it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah. There being no motion, this petition is denied. Okay, Mr. Savage, we can go on with the other matters.